There's this company down in Dallas, Colossal Biosciences. They de-extincted these dire wolves. They birthed 3 pups, Romulus, Remus, and Khaleesi. And believe it or not, we actually have video that was sent to us by our good friends in Dallas, Colossal Biosciences. Paul, let's show the people the video, huh? I mean, look, they look cool, I guess. Yes, here they are roaming around in the snow, hanging out. They're in a controlled environment. Well, I don't know anything about these dire wolves, but somebody that does is Dr. Bobby Fokidis. He is a biology professor in Rollins College in beautiful Winter Park, Florida, and he's joining us today to talk more about these dire wolves. Dr. Fokidis, thank you so much for joining the afternoon shift. Let's just kick it off. Can you just explain to us what exactly is a dire wolf? They roamed Earth 13,000 years ago. What are they? Where do they live? Like, can you just give us just a basic interpretation of what they are?
Okay, so a dire wolf is it's obviously a member of the dog family. They diverged from modern wolves, modern gray wolves, about 5.7 million years ago. And even though superficially they look like a gray wolf, they are actually pretty different.
Okay.
They belong to a different genus, Eocyon, as opposed to Canis. So Canis would include things like your wolves, your dogs, your jackals, your coyotes. So they're a little bit different. But where they used to roam, they were obviously Ice Age animals. They used to live in the North American tundra, which was most of the continent at the time, with the big glaciers. And they were also found in Eurasia a little bit. So they're pretty cool, large, pack hunting, probably dog.
Real quick, when you say tundra, we are here in Minnesota. Would these animals be here in Minnesota, you think?
Certainly. They actually are even fossil dire wolves found in Florida. So when we talk about the Ice Age, it was the Ice Age.
That's crazy.
So there's a lot of Ice Age fossils here. We got mammoth fossils. We got dire wolf fossils here in Florida. So the glaciers were spread from north all the way down. So anything south of those glaciers would have been cold enough to support tundra environments like you see in the Arctic right now.
Doc, so what goes into this process of de-extincting previously extinct species? Because this is a brand new thing that I think we've seen I think everyone's seen over the last couple of years headlines about them being interested in possibly resurrecting woolly mammoths and animals of that nature. But this is the first time that I recall hearing something of this happening successfully. So what goes into the process of de-extincting an animal, and why do you think they selected the dire wolf to be one of the first?
That's a very good question. So de-extinction is it's kind of a new term describing using modern genetic approaches to essentially resurrect an extinct species based on the genome of some similar looking species, right? So in this case, what they did was they were able to get DNA from fossilized remains of dire wolves. They were able to use the gray wolf genome, and they were able to essentially insert genes that they figured would produce sort of the dire wolf traits into the genome of a gray wolf, which is a hell of a thing to do. Working with DNA is tough. Even though it's routine, a lot can go wrong. Ancient DNA especially tends to be broken up into small pieces and hard to put together, and it's often hard to get enough of it to do anything anyway. And then on top of that, putting in these genes at the little spots on the gray wolf genome, and then getting them to work in a living animal and seeing those cool animals that you saw. So a lot goes into it. And just recently they had the mice that they were able to get them to be furry and have that mammoth fur on them. So they're doing some incredible things over there at Colossal Biosciences. That said, we don't quite have dire wolves yet.
Gotcha. Yeah, I remember seeing something about the woolly mice too. So that's interesting. They're doing some different things in Dallas at the Colossal Biosciences. Here's a question I got for you. So they made 3 of these pups, Romulus, Remus, Khaleesi. Question, can they multiply? Like, are there going to be more of these that are going to happen organically, or is it going to take the lab to create more of them?
That's a good question. So what we have, just to kind of bring this, kind of get a good feel for what we have. What we have are gray wolves that have been modified for particular traits using this genetic approach, and have been modified in terms of their phenotype. So they look very different, and they have a lot of the traits considered to be dire wolf traits. So because we're dealing with a gray wolf essentially in its core, because most of that genome is still gray wolf, presumably would be able to breed and produce offspring. But we have to see, right? I mean, they're still pups, so we have to see how it plays out. But nonetheless, the certainly the techniques that they're using are quite cutting edge.
Hey, Doc, what are
So
some
who
of
knows?
the benefits of doing something like this? Because I'm a fan of film. I think there's about 12 movies that explain exactly why this is a pretty bad idea. So what is the goal of de-extincting species, and does it just stop with the dire wolf? How far can we really take this thing?
That's a good question. To answer your second question first, I have no idea how far we can take this. There's a lot of big hurdles, and I think Colossal Biosciences is doing a good job of trying to overcome a lot of those hurdles. As far as why bring them back, really, it depends. I think there's a better case to be made for some than others. So, for example, the Mammoth Project, which I think is their flagship project, they want to resurrect mammoths or essentially produce Asian elephants with a lot of the mammoth traits. There's a good case to be made that it can help with, taking care of tundra environments and actually helping to mitigate some aspects of climate change by restoring permafrost and things like that. They have a plan to do this in Pleistocene Park, which is obviously a play on Jurassic Park. And I've seen those movies too. I don't know if we're going to have leopards being running through the streets of Minneapolis anytime soon, but quite interesting, quite interesting. There's probably some species you want to bring back than others. And then, how far we take it, I don't know. Maybe dinosaurs are next on the list, but I think we're still a long ways out.
Max, I know it's not going to surprise you. I've never seen Jurassic Park either. I know the concept because I've been on the ride at Disneyland, but I've never actually seen the movie. Yeah, even Dr. Fokidis is like, come on, Adam. Come on.
Yeah, I apologize on behalf of the show, Dr. Fokidis. I'm so sorry that he's here to talk about not seeing these things. I do have a quick question, though. In terms of conservation, kind of what are the conservation circles thinking about this? Because obviously this is an animal that went extinct 10,000 plus years ago. We've got animals that are on the brink of extinction today, and we're choosing to bring them back. Like, what's the thoughts? What's the scientific thought on that?
It's a good question. I think there's there's a lot of money that gets invested into these kind of projects. I view it as being able to overcome more on the genetic biotech aspect as opposed to necessarily conservation. But that said, these genetic techniques are going to very much help a lot of imperiled populations of animals that are alive today. So if you can develop them in a way that, you have this sensational headline of, hey, we brought back this creature, supposedly, from extinction, and that could help fund other conservation initiatives. I know that they're doing work with red wolves, which is a species of wolf that's found in the United States that's currently down to like 20 individuals living in North Carolina. So they're doing a lot of work trying to restore genetics there. There's a good case to be made there. They're also doing other projects with things like pink pigeons. I know in Mauritius Island, this is a species that disappeared. They're probably doing this in the hopes of eventually resurrecting dodos. But yeah, unfortunately, humans have a habit of affecting a lot of creatures in a negative way. And the big question is, how are we going to allocate our resources right now?
Doc, I got to ask this to close out the interview because, again, I've seen Jurassic Park and I'm paranoid after reading this story. What are the consequences of something like this? I mean, I guess maybe we don't have enough information yet, but are there any type of defects in these dire wolves? Is this something that is going to lead to them being a little bit off in the head? Basically, what I'm trying to ask is, are the dire wolves going to kill us all / turn us into zombies, possibly?
Probably not zombies. But certainly there's a concern. I'm not going to be looking over my shoulders for dire wolves anytime soon. We got coyotes that kind of keep people on edge as it is, at least here in Florida. I think the bigger sort of concerns is, beyond sort of the playing God arguments and are we going to bring something that maybe we can't get a hold of control of. I think, sort of the bigger issue is sort of what is the public gonna think about conservation when we can just kind of willy-nilly bring any creature back if we wanted to, right? Wow. Where is the motivation to conserve a species? Where is the motivation to preserve land? and actually try and help the species that are here. And might we just be like trying to create whatever we can create just for fun? So that's kind of the big picture concern. But there are some more fundamental concerns. What are these things going to eat? They evolved to eat giant creatures that are no longer roaming this earth. We're going to have to bring them back too. We have wolves right now, and they're not doing too great necessarily everywhere where they are. So are we introducing a new competitor? We do a lot of problems with invasive species. We bring, I live in Florida, so there's like pythons and iguanas and all kinds of stuff that's not supposed to be here. So, there's a lot of questions we could ask. For right now, it's a very, very cool, sort of breakthrough. And I'm looking forward to seeing what's next. But also not terribly worried about those particular questions right now.
Dr. Bobby Fokidis, biology professor, Rollins College in beautiful Winter Park, Florida. Thank you so much for joining the afternoon shift. We're going to talk to you very soon. Our next sort of genetically modified animal conversation. You're our first call. We appreciate you, buddy.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, give me a call back when they start doing it with dinosaurs.
Yes, yes, we'll do. Thank you, Doc. Appreciate it.